I'm Don Pratt, host of a show here on Rogers TV where we give you a perspective of police in your community. Welcome to Policing York Region. Today I've got another fantastic opportunity in conversations with the Organized Crime Bureau. And again, we're going to be doing a few pieces under their umbrella. And today, welcoming back Detective Sergeant Glenn Wright. Glenn, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
A pleasure to be here, Don.
And today, I guess we're, the last time, with regards to financial crimes, I mean, we were talking primarily about identity theft. Today, I guess we're going to cover a few different areas, and I think we've kind of coined it as, trust and extortion scams.
Yeah.
There seems to be a few things that fall under that heading.
Yeah, there is. We're seeing. Unfortunately, we're seeing crimes like romance scams, for example. We're seeing those on the increase. Mm-hmm. And so often with financial crimes, there's under-reporting. So like we get a very small percentage of actual reports that are actually out there.
Right.
And we're tracking these, very accurately. And the numbers are very alarming that we're seeing of lost money by the community. So really knowledge is power. If we can get the information out and just give people the tools to defend themselves, that's my objective here. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've brought up a familiar topic about reporting, or unfortunately, under-reporting.
Yeah. Right.
It seems, particularly, I can see it with the romance scams. Perhaps people are embarrassed.
Yeah, there is a sense of that. In fact, at York Regional Police, one of the things we're currently putting in place is a victim support group, just for that very reason. That a lot of times victims feel ashamed, or there's always that sense of betrayal, and then with that, I should have known, and it's very they're very difficult crimes to see happen, because people are trusting. They have good intentions. They want to help. They're generally good people that fall into these things, and they're sending money to somebody that is actually just a criminal.
So this criminal is actually gaining somebody's trust. Is that how it works?
Yeah. In particular, in romance scams, these are often nurtured over time. So quite often the starting platform will be like a dating site where they'll set up a fake profile with a stolen picture, often of who they are or who they say they are, and then they develop a relationship with somebody online, and lots of flattery and
Actually, we had a picture of just what you were speaking about, a fake portrayal of somebody. Let's just see if we can get that up there. Can you just speak to this?
Okay, so this is just a picture, and this picture's posted on Scam Busters, and the individual that's posted there is a stolen picture. So it's a picture taken off the internet, and then used in a corresponding scam. The story will be often similar. We see a lot of patterns of these types of offenses. So
the picture on the right there, the gentleman in the uniform, he is actually a U.S. military.
Yeah, they're just pictures that are stolen. And
that's just a stolen picture, and then somebody has used that on their own.
Yeah, they create a fake story around it, and that story will usually begin with the relationship building and building the trust, and then comes the betrayal. So it leads into very similar stories. So if it's a military person, they're deployed overseas and they're having difficulty, there's some personal emergency, some financial emergency, and then comes the betrayal, the asking for money. I mean, the whole event is a betrayal from start to finish, because they're never really who they say they are. I remember one search warrant I went in about a year and a half ago, and there's in this suspect's bedroom, there was a whole row of phones all up and down on the floor. Wow. And each one, the screen was going with different chats. When we went in obviously unannounced, but all those conversations were going with different victims, and by this one individual. So these people are very, very cold and callous. When you're dealing with them after you arrest them, they have no regard for victims, or
no remorse whatsoever.
None. No. The only question they'll ask is, when do I get my meal? You'll ask them, how do you feel about betraying that victim or harming that victim? And they could care less. So
that's horrible. That's just where.
Yeah, they're difficult crimes.
And you're dealing with people that, like you said, maybe they've let their guard down. They're trusting souls. They're wishing to help somebody, or I guess in the case of romance scams, they're looking at building a relationship, right?
Yeah. And
Or they think that they are building a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll use a lot of flattering language. It must have taken 7 days to create a person as beautiful as you, and they'll use lots of this kind of text, and it does create a false sense that that person really does care about them, and in fact they don't. But certainly a red flag is when there's any mention of money. That's an immediate red flag.
Yes, and I suppose we'll probably speak to that on just about any topic to do with frauds.
Yeah.
Is if somebody's requesting money,
Yes.
stop, slow down, think about this.
That's the message of the day, is just pause and check the facts out first. That's always a red flag. So when we talk about different extortion type scams, if we relate some of these together, they're different, but there's some similarities. For example, emergency scams. So you get a cold call. Somebody, let's use an example. I mean, as many of these, there are many variations, and we could spend all day talking about all the different variations. But essentially, somebody could call, let's say, a lawyer, pretending to be a lawyer, family members in jail. They've been caught for impaired driving, and they need money right away. So the instructions come: send money via Western Union, gift cards, bitcoins, or whatever the method is. Those are a huge red flag. So you should always stop and check those facts out before you respond.
And you hit on it, like when they use the form of an emergency.
Yes.
You're caught up in it.
Yeah,
you're automatically you're automatically drawn to it, right?
Absolutely.
I can tell you I had the personal experience. A very good friend of mine was going away for a couple of weeks. A short while into his vacation, I got an email saying that he'd been hurt, and it's wherever he was, we had to pay for the hospital fees.
Right. Yeah, it's always an urgent, like, send money right away, and
it was.
And some of these calls too can be somewhat threatening. If I use another variation of the emergency scam, it's the immigration scam, where somebody will call, pretend they're from Canada Immigration, calling to maybe a new Canadian, and they're telling them, your form 1000 is out of order, and
which doesn't exist.
Yeah, and they give an official ID number. Here's my ID number, and I'm with the government of Canada, and send iTunes card payments or whatever the case right away. And often the language and the tone of these people is very threatening, and it's very very difficult to see through that when you're caught in it. But again, coming back to that message, just take time and check the facts.
Yeah. We had a similar call when you said the language and the tone. We had a call to my wife's phone, and she was concerned about it, and it was something to do with Revenue Canada, or portraying something to do with Revenue Canada. But when she played it back, the tone and the hostility that the individual was speaking with. Yeah. I'm fortunate because of the chair that I sit in. I know that. Yeah. That's not how Canada Revenue speaks. Yeah. But, so we did disregard it. We did report it as well. But
yeah, those are important messages. Like, Canada Revenue will never threaten, arrest, or that there's they're coming to take you away. That's not. It's obviously a process. There's a due process, and those are all huge red flags when somebody's in a very threatening manner asking you for money, like on a CRA call, which I believe a lot of the community have heard about that or know somebody that have received those calls. And they're just done on a mass basis. They just they have what we call boiler rooms. They're just rooms full of people working phones. Sometimes these are overseas even, and they just make call after call after call, and it's the law of numbers. Eventually they get someone to respond and send money, and in some cases very tragic. We've had cases of people sending, believe it or not, into the hundreds of thousands of money in these scams. So it can be very devastating. Yeah,
well, and fear will do that to you, won't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like, I've seen them actually where they go on for sometimes 2 days, and they'll just, barely enough time to recharge your phone, and then they're following you, and they're directing you to, go here, buy this gift card or this wire transfer, and go here, do this one next, and it's just
Well, and that brings it back to a conversation that we were having earlier too. That gift cards, bitcoins, iTunes cards. CRA does not accept Bitcoin as payment or iTunes cards as payment.
Correct. Yeah, they'll take like a debit transfer or a bank payment at the bank or through your online banking, but yeah, not.
And something for viewers to know that as far as Canada Revenue Agency goes, and we've researched this ourselves, that all of their correspondence is primarily mail.
Yes. Yeah. Primarily.
Right? I'm not saying there won't be any phone calls. There could very well be.
Yeah. Yeah, you can certainly reach out to them and call and say, is there a problem? And that's, again, it's come back to that point, just pause and check the facts first. So if you're getting one of those threatening calls, and if you're trying to end that call, they're going to be very, very upset because you're hitting into their average.
Your lost potential.
Yes, they're hoping that you're going to bite. So by all means, slow down, call. If it's a CRA, call them. Make sure that those...
And I thought some very good advice that you gave earlier was if somebody calls you and if you're uncertain, ask for their credentials and a callback number.
Yeah.
And call back at your leisure.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And I can tell you, not many people will call back.
No.
Right?
Absolutely.
Or provide you that information.
Yes.
Because it's quite simply not real, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's always best to check it. Check it all through.
Always check that information.
Yeah.
On that note, folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our conversation about scams and extortion. You never know where to go with these because, off camera, we realize that our conversation could web out into all different areas.
Yeah, right? so many variations. Yeah,
it really is. It really is. And every book I open, we've shared the little black book of scams before. It's cover to cover of great information, but unfortunately of all the different variations that are out there. And speaking of variations, earlier we were talking about the CRA type scams. One that you had touched on was tax refunds.
Yeah, it's being tax time this time of the year. One of the things we see is where you might get an email or text saying, "Oh, we've got an additional refund for you," or something to that effect. And please enter your banking information here and your password so we can deposit it. So those are obviously red flags. So if you're, again, in doubt, go back to the Canada Revenue and just check where your account is and make sure it's actually a refund that's coming. And
something that we're gonna repeat on any show to do with any of these topics is just because somebody asks you for credential information does not mean you need to provide it.
No, absolutely not.
You need to be very careful with where you provide that information.
Yes, yeah. It's all these things have great safeguards built in, but it's like anything. If we give the password or the logon credentials away, then the whole system is ineffective.
So you've given them the key to everything, right?
Correct. Yeah. So.
Not the way to go. Yeah. And so some of the other scams that we would talk about under this umbrella then.
Well, some other trust type scams, for example, one that comes to mind are the CEO scams. So
CEO, okay.
Yeah, so these would typically target businesses, and they'll quite often pick a time when they might suspect or know that the owner or the president of that company is away, or one of the managers. So they might know that Linda's off at a conference or whatever the owner of the company, and then they'll make a call in. Or an email, sorry, not a call, but an email saying, "Oh, it's Linda. I need some money transferred right away to this place." And they're done very well. Like a lot of these are done through email hacks. So again, people backing up a little bit might have clicked on a link at some point in the company, given criminal access into the email system. Right. And then they're kind of even monitoring, so they might even see that Linda's going on she's got a trip to Calgary booked, and and then they're, they set up the perfect time to contact the other employees who they also know through their email hack,
Right.
and then send this request through. We've also seen lesser sophisticated versions where they'll just call and say it's, Mark needs some gift cards purchased for an event he's doing, and please purchase them and give me the codes off the back, and those types of scenarios. So they're all trust-based scams. So you're trusting that is somebody I should know that's calling or emailing, and
Yeah, so it goes back to the same thing with every one of them. Sounds too good to be true, it is.
Yeah.
And if you don't know for certain who the source is, stay away from it.
Yeah, and again, it's in the convenience of the digital age where we have the ability to transfer funds, to do online banking. These are all great things, but some of our guard has been let down in terms of not actually speaking to Linda, who may be in Calgary. We're just relying on an email. So it's good to put some secondary checks in place if you're a business to make sure that there's some sort of a protocol that if you're sending a certain amount that you're sure that
you're sure it's going to the right hands, right?
Yeah. These are often difficult to get back because of the structure of where they're wired, and we try our best, but we don't always succeed. So sometimes they have tragic results, and they're large amounts often too. So
that's horrible.
So again, if we can avoid it, that's get everybody.
Well, and I think that's part of the premise of this show, right? Is we try to offer as much education as we possibly can, and I've said it before, and I've openly admitted it, that as close as I am connected to York Regional Police, I still have a whole lot to learn about this stuff. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that, again, mentioning this time of the year with the warmer weather coming, is we're starting to see more door-to-door scams.
Yes,
and
I understand that's kind of making a resurgence.
It does, yeah. They go in patterns, but people should be wary of anything coming to the door. It should be treated with a high degree of skepticism, I guess is the best word, and healthy skepticism. Like really look at it and analyze what it is. If it's an offer where it's a limited time offer, I'm here and I've got a crew, I can do your driveway sealing today and today only. Maybe pass on that one. That's you might get some oily water put on your driveway that is not worth anything. It's going to cost you to clean it off. Or a typical one that we see are the driveway pavers that aren't a reputable company, and they're coming around, and you end up with 3/4 of an inch of asphalt that isn't good for anything. So,
or signing over a deposit that you quite simply never see again.
Yeah. If there are concerns in those areas, the Ministry of Government Services is great for guiding people on door-to-door scams or contractor scams, and it is. I'll tell you, Don, it's a complicated area sometimes, whether they're criminal or whether they go to Ministry of Government Services, but we'll definitely help people to talk to them and help give them some guidance in those areas.
Yeah, the door-to-door, I mean, we first became aware of them 3-4-ish years ago, and the hot water heater was a really big target.
Yeah.
And I personally knew several people that did fall into it, and they had a really hard time getting out of it.
Yeah, the province took some measures on those. For example, they extended the cancellation period on those. So normally, in many circumstances, things that are signed at your door, so to speak, are revocable within 10 days. But on water heaters, I believe it's actually 20 days. So there's an extension. But yeah, again, thank the person for the information, get their number, but check with a local contractor to check their price for the same water heater, or a big box store will have water heaters and installation, and always do your homework.
And I think good advice too is that don't feel obligated to commit just because somebody's standing at your door.
Correct, yeah. The one thing we're always very emphatic about is don't let anybody in your house or start showing them your bills. If they want to come in, they might have a colored vest on, or a vest or a hard hat.
Anyone can look the part.
Yeah, exactly. These are just props that these groups use. So if somebody's saying, I have to come in, they might even be deceptive and say they're with the gas company or the utility company. I have to inspect your water heater. Again, call your water heater provider or the gas company and say, did you send somebody around? And pretty sure the answer is going to be no, that they didn't. But Once you let them in, then it becomes a larger problem. Or if you show them your bill, they might say, well, I have to check your bill. Well, if they're coming from the gas company, they should already.
They have access to it already.
Yeah,
right. We did have that in our own home, and this was when it was surging more 3 or 4 years ago, where somebody did have ID.
Yeah.
Well, an ID card, anyways. But it was fraudulent.
Yes. Yeah.
They were representing a utility that we purchased from.
Yeah.
They had nothing to do with them.
Yeah. But another thing that's important is contractor-based fraud. So if a contractor's coming asking you for a large deposit, just as a rule of thumb, you should never ask, or they should never ask for really more than 10%. And if a contractor can't obtain credit to buy the supplies, often they'll say to the victim, well, I need you to pay the amount because I got to get the supplies, for your deck or whatever they're doing.
Sure.
You have to ask yourself, if they can't even get credit to buy the lumber for the deck, then maybe I don't want to do business.
Is that who you want to be dealing with?
Yeah, because a reputable contractor will have a line of credit with the building center and be able to send the wood. A good rule of thumb, if you're getting a large project, then advance the money in draws or stages, and that way you're never overextended. So if a big skid of lumber shows up in your driveway, okay, I'm comfortable to release a little bit more.
Of course.
If the holes...
Do it in stages, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and it's been recent, there has been reports of contractor scams.
Yeah, and it really devastates people because often they're trying to do the right thing. Funds are limited, and then to have the entire amount that they've been saving up or have borrowed for a project have it taken by somebody, and they just don't ever show up again. So again, really just slow things down and obtain 3 quotes and make sure that you're sourcing.
Do your homework. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do your homework.
Take your time. If they're at the door and they're today and today only, that you hear those words, or
there's nothing wrong with asking for references, and and further to that, follow up those references.
Yeah. So you can check these things too with different agencies like the Ministry of Consumer Services. Check with them if they have heard of this business, or certainly with things like electrical work. It's really important to go through agencies like the Electrical Safety Authority.
Yes.
People sometimes balk and say, "Well, I don't want to pay that fee," but that's going to get you 2 inspections usually during that work. And let's be honest, like that work is important. Electrical work could burn your house down. So if it's done unlicensed, or then you're putting yourself and your family at risk.
No, you should absolutely. It goes for any area that we're going to talk about. Is do your homework.
Yeah, just check things out. Because once you've parted that money, make sure you get a written contract. Make sure everything's specified in there, and that contract can't exceed the final amount by more than 10%. So make sure everything's laid out and it's signed, and detail like with anything, even if you're just hiring movers or anything, just make sure you've got the detail in there.
Yeah, and it goes for all of them, as you were saying. The guy that's coming and knocking on your door. And one day only.
Yeah.
I wonder what the response you would get if you did say, "Can I see your references?" Or I don't think it'd be too favorable.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure. Like we were talking about that earlier. There's a lot of pressure with some of these door-to-door vendors. So just be wary of that. And when they're coming unannounced, that also puts people off guard because they're not prepared, and maybe you're standing there in your house coat just having your coffee, and there's somebody pounding on your door. Yeah. So that's a good time to take a break and say, "I'll get back to you." Well,
I can tell you a rule in our own home. This is my wife. If she doesn't know you're coming, she's not answering the door.
That's a good,
don't ever
rule.
Feel obligated to answer the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you could be put in that hot seat of well, like I said, we had somebody. He was very aggressive on wanting to see our water bill.
Yeah.
And he actually wanted to come in and see our hot water heater.
Yeah. And those are huge red flags. So if they're coming, they should already have that information and not asking you for it. So. And
so as far as reporting on this stuff, yrp.ca obviously is one.
Yeah. Online reporting. Yeah.
And then are there other areas that we can look at to report?
If it depends on the offense. If you start with an online report, obviously if there's somebody at the door and you need us there, then you would call our dispatch, and we would
Yes.
attend. But if it's an event that's occurred, then you can make an online report, and we'll
Yeah, sure.
if you call the department, we'll
Yes.
direct the call based on the type of call. It's
And that's just the standard non-emergency number.
yeah, 1-866-876-5423, and
Right.
Somebody will assist you.
And can we use Crime Stoppers for this as well?
If you have a tip, if you
Okay.
know some information, absolutely, it's a great great
It's
service.
a great reporting tool, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
if you have
for
a-
non-emergency.
For anonymous information that you want to
Right.
pass on, yeah, and your identity won't be revealed, and
No.
you'll be able to pass information if you knew somebody that was involved in these criminal acts. You could pass that information on.
Right. Now, so your office looks at all different kinds of frauds, and we've only touched on but a few of them. Are there others that you want to touch on?
Well, we've covered really the biggest things. The emergency scams really have had a profound impact on people just because they're so fast, and I guess that's they come usually on a phone call, and
Yep.
people panic and
They capture that fast emotion.
yeah, and we have a hard time dealing with those because people realize afterwards, like, oh, I shouldn't have fallen for that,
Yep.
and it's easy to fall for them, but just stop. And my best advice is hang up the phone.
Yes. If you're unsure,
Yeah,
ask them for their phone number, and you can call them back.
yeah. And if they
Right.
get aggressive and start threatening arrest
up.
and all that, just hang up. That's the best advice I can give.
Glenn, thank you so much for all of the information around frauds. It's been great having you on here, and we really look forward to having you on at another time.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Okay. Folks, that wraps up this episode of Policing York Region. Been great having you. Look forward to seeing you again.